Joining me now from Chicago and from Squared Off, got Hoser and Ryan. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Looking forward to getting to talk to you guys again. I always look forward to follow ups, right? You get to kind of build these relationships. So I'm glad that we get to do this again and kind of see what you guys have been up to. And Ryan, I'm glad to meet you for the first time here because you were not available or you're doing other things at the time
I
that
was not in the band. I think last time you had a conversation with Coach.
okay.
I think, yeah, I was still out. I think I was still I watched the podcast. I heard the interview and everything. That you guys did. So, not like I'm not unfamiliar with you.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're here this time. Excited to talk about the new stuff that you guys are doing because last time we were talking about the new stuff you were doing at that point. And so now, as we were talking about before we hopped on here, band is still going. So let's get into what has the band been doing?
Uh, well, for a while, as I was mentioning before, is that Nomi had left um, to move to Duluth. This happened a couple of years ago. Um, so during that time, it basically having Ryan come back again and go over um, just over the songs, that we were originally when we were recording the first two or three records, things like that, going over those, and then the stuff that he was not part of, um, the other two records or something like that, and getting him involved and getting him back into the whole rhythm of things, and then just a lot of rehearsing. I mean, we spent a good last year rehearsing, and then playing a
If I'm
few
not,
shows
if
here
I'm
or
not
there.
mistaken, there were three records you had. I had material. I think.
Yeah, he was out of three records, so he had to catch up on material. So, and then this year it's been more just like, oh, I got like three or four songs. Let's start working on new stuff. And then yeah, just we've only had chance to record one song, which of course is I sent you, which is Nightmare, which is our most current one, and it's basically, a song that describes what's going on right now, and the politics and all.
I think we were
And
talking about that beforehand. You know, what else do you talk about besides stuff like that? And a lot of bands, your band, write about kind of what's going on in the world around them. So sometimes that's those political things, and I think it's no different than any other time in history. I guess it just depends on what you want to pay attention to and how things focus. Things are still happening in Ukraine and Russia, right? But then other things have
yeah,
happened. And
yeah,
so the way news cycles work and what people pay attention to, that is paid attention to less. And so I guess when it comes down to just about anything, it's the things that speak to you as a person or things that you want to speak out against or whatever that is. So it could be anything at any moment. And
yeah,
I guess you,
yeah.
you never know. And it's really a nightmare at all times. But I guess it could also be a positive thing. It just depends on where we look, not nightmare things being positive, just if you look in a different direction, maybe there's some positive things out there too. But I guess you're turning your back to the nightmare things if you're
Yeah,
doing that.
basically the song is basically more of a message saying, if we don't clean up our act, we're gonna lose basically all our freedoms and everything else. And that's pretty much what this song is about. Um, it's kind of like a warning message, and and a lot of people just don't see that, and it's sad because they rather see, hey, my guy won, and that's it, man. That's the way it's gonna go, and it's like, no, because with the way he's thinking, he doesn't even care about you. So why, you know? And that's the warning that we're gonna lose out our freedoms, and, you know,
Right. Well, the
things like
pessimist
that.
in me says that, and I try to be an optimist, but the pessimist to me says
I
that
know.
for how long have we had two parties, and those two parties are working against all of us, regardless of which party you're rooting for. It's the
Right.
ones in charge for a bit, because none have been in charge for too long, too long of a stint, and so it's just like eroding away at you one way, and then they're like, oh, let's go back this other way, and then you go back this other
Right.
way, and then they start eroding more, and really what it comes down
Yes.
to is it's just kind of slowly closing in, but from opposite sides. So you're
Yes.
not seeing it coming head on. You're like, well, I'm done with this, and then all of a sudden it encroaches inward the other way, and then encroaches inward the other way.
Right.
If we
Right.
don't realize that and maybe figure out how the non-choosers, the non-lawmakers, the all of us figure out how to work together, yes, instead of relying on one of those parties to save us, then you're
Yes.
right. I think that between the two
Right.
of them, they're going to take it all away.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it would be nice to say that with our 90% of people here, there's got to be enough intelligence here that we can put together a people's party, the third party. This time, it's not just left or right, but we, the voice as well,
Right. I think the parties need to start splitting. And one positive thing that I can say about Trump being the Republican, even though he wasn't, he's kind of split that party. So that party's starting to become two different parties, because you have the Republicans that were Republicans, and now you have kind of where the Republicans are. And I'm not saying to pick either one of those. I'm just saying the positive part of that is that is dividing, because we've had a lot of our other parties. There's been Green Party, Tea Party, Libertarian, and stuff like that. And me personally, I think I probably fit somewhere, if I had to pick a party, somewhere probably closest to Libertarian at this point in my life. It's kind of felt different alignments through different periods. But I think the older I get, maybe I'm getting towards that. But those other parties really aren't viable options. They're not there to actually pull away in any big race. Those two parties have figured out a way to squash and exclude. That way they're not taking from their votes. When people want something a little more conservative, well, then the conservative party is like, well, we don't want that third party in because we want to make sure we're getting enough votes. And when people are leaning more liberal, the Liberal Party is like, no, we don't want you jumping in, because we don't want you pulling away. Because if enough pulls away, because if that third party's a little, it's like, hey, well, the climate's more liberal or it's more conservative, and they're kind of leaning that direction, then they'll pull from that other of the parties. So that's why they do a good job of excluding, as opposed to if we just, three parties isn't even the answer. It's better than two parties. The answer is like 6 parties, 8 parties, 10 parties, because realistically, you can be like, well, I definitely agree with what that party says here, and then I agree with what that party says there, and overall I lean more towards the one, but if I got to pick one or the other, I guess I'm going this way. As opposed to you get 6, 8, 10 parties, you're probably finding people that are a little bit maybe closer to you. And also you don't really have well, we're the majority, so it doesn't matter about the rest of you. I think you get those people more likely to work together when you have 6, 8, 10 parties all elected. Then there's more compromise, which is probably better for everybody at that point. And it's not majority rules.
Right. Isn't it like a parliament type of scenario?
I am not familiar enough, but I think that you're right. I think the drawback is with the human element in there. It's still just like ruling class rules for the ruling class.
The major flaw. Yeah, that's the major flaw, the human element there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the middleman is just been excluded from everything. It's either this far right or this far left at this point. And that needs to change, because they're all sitting people. I believe there are big portions of people that aren't wanting to be extreme on either side. I think this election, I couldn't honestly say I did not vote for either party. I did an independent and everything, and whether or not you want to call that a waste of a vote or whatever, I vote by my beliefs and my values. I don't vote by picking in the sides that I don't agree with on either way, you know. So that's, you know, that's, I would hope more people did that when they went to the ballot box, you know. So,
You're right. If more people actually did that, on one hand, yeah, you can say it's a waste of a vote. If you're saying that only two parties and your vote could have went to the losing party and we wanted the losing party to win, in that sense, sure. But I think the majority of people are somewhere in the middle and don't really like either one that much. They're just choosing how often is it the lesser of two evils? That's the mentality when it comes. It's the lesser of two evils. And that's not how we should be thinking about the people that make the rules, make the laws and all of that. Which one is the lesser of two evils? That's the drawback. So it's got to be somewhat, if people are in the middle, and if you're right, a lot more people did that. You would go from, I see a lot of comparisons of each year, how many people voted. And if those numbers dropped drastically, then people would notice people aren't going to vote just because those are our two options. They're like, hey, you know what? I don't like either of you. I'm not going to vote for either of you. And then maybe that those third parties might feel a bit more empowered to jump in, invest the money, I guess, because obviously it seems to take a lot of money to do those things, and maybe be able to have real contenders in there as opposed to just the one side or the other.
yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, my cat just showed up.
Special guest.
Yes. Had to show up. Every time I have a Zoom interview, they have to get right in the middle of it, and it's part of it. This is Luna, by the way.
Hello, Luna. Well, I guess on that note, enough of that for a moment. Right. I'm sure it might come up, but about the track Nightmare. So you're writing about kind of the climate, I guess, the what's going on as you see it, and that's how all music's going to be. What other things are you seeing? What other things? You said you had a handful ready. I think you said 5 to begin with. If this is one of the 5, what else are since the last go round?
Well, the other guy, another one is basically getting old, growing up type of song, called Once Again. It's basically how just life shit just gets in the way, and you want to do something that you have a dream for and everything else, but then all of a sudden budget or money or a death in a family or death in a pet, that kind of puts you aside, and it's once again another hurdle comes again, and that's, I guess, for me, that's where I'm heading more. Not more politics and angry. I'm, the whole Minor Threat, I can't stand you, you lie too much kind of music. It's more like, grr, I'm getting old, get off my lawn, guys in the, left lane drivers and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's sad, but it's true, man. We're getting older. And a lot, and and the other thing too is like the younger kids are coming in, they, we're so disconnected from them, and I don't know how to get to that down there, with those kids, because we're up here, doing daily life, and we're not in the all ages shows all the time anymore. And that's the other part that I wanted to get into, is like that disconnect, from us and the youth or the younger crowds and things like that. But yeah, definitely that's another. I guess you could say like the continuation of My World, how everything just falls apart, kind of thing.
Right, and those hurdles, it happens. I mean, what can you do? I guess it's the nature of life. As right. Some people say it's, especially the majority of people live so close to their means too, that you just have a catastrophe of sorts, and it really can set you really far back. A death in the family, if life insurance doesn't cover, then I mean that's a huge expense, as opposed to if life insurance covered, then it could totally swing the other way. But you have a bad accident and your health insurance doesn't cover.
Right.
completely, or if you didn't even have health insurance, it's like a somewhat bad accident, or not even that bad of an accident, but it still could
Right.
be something that hurt you. You know, your car gets in a wreck, your insurance doesn't cover it. I know insurance is coming up quite a bit here. You know,
Yeah.
insurance doesn't cover you.
Exactly.
Uh,
Seems to be a, there seems to be a one factor.
right, right. There's
Right.
a lot of those things, and some form of insurance could be the problem. If it could be there and it could save
Right.
you, or it could
Yeah.
not be there, or just not in its entirety. And those things can really break people. I had a facial injury, and I had insurance, but the first doctor I went to at first, they're like, you know what, this doctor's covered, but the OR's not. And it wasn't a good facial injury just to be like, all right, I'm going to shop this around. I needed to get it fixed. I was in the emergency room
Hmm.
initially, and then they're like, well, you're swollen. You got to come back. I come back in a few days. And then the first they're like, bill's going to be like $97,000. I'm like, $97,000. First
Wow.
thought was, all right, am I going to just look like Quasimodo for the rest of my life? I'm just going to let this
Wow.
heal. It's going to be terrible, but whatever. I'm not $97,000 because that's our part. The insurance wouldn't cover. A few more days and it worked out, and I was able to get into a different emergency room, and it all worked out. But it could have been a lot worse. For that day was like, all right, this is. I don't want. What am I going? Where am I going to come up with $97,000?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just me. And I know plenty of other people. All sorts of health problems come up. People get cancer. People get strange health ailments that they don't even know what to do. And you go spend. And this is a personal friend of mine. Uh, 10 days here, 10 days there in emergency rooms, experimental therapies, trying to figure it out. And,
Yeah.
insurance only
Yeah.
covers so much sometimes. And so some of those type of things can happen. And that's just scratching the surface of those things.
Exactly. Mind you,
I might know a thing or two about all of this because I am a fair enough. Um,
yeah. And
like
my,
we get
yeah.
we get patients all the time that they have no insurance or they're on Medicaid and everything. I have friends that I know that it's free. Oh, you go to the doctor, you don't feel well, they don't send you a bill. They take care of you. You pay like you pay like whatever the medication is, and maybe like a doctor's fee. But it's nothing compared to what insurance charges nowadays. And so now that's what is going on with this up to Medicaid lately, and everything that the Trump administration is trying to do. Um, what's going to happen to these people? Like, how are they going to be able to survive?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my job being in emergency medicine, we think whether or not you can pay, you're still going to get a ride to the hospital. We're still going to take care of you and do everything you did for anyone else. But there's ambulances cost a lot of money to run. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
there's going to have to be some sort of revamping of the entire healthcare system. As far as that goes.
Definitely.
You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
but
yeah, so basically that's you're like, once again,
Once
another
again,
issue. And, but in my, going back to the question of what has happened between us and the band. I mean, for me, myself is I lost my job a couple of years ago, and it's really hard to find anything comparable. I'm doing side gigs here and there. It's not like we're broke, but being my age, I'm hitting 55 pretty soon, so it's a bitch to get a
oh,
job, like a paycheck. So, and I'm not the only one. I mean, I've known lots of people now that are, especially here in the city. Everybody thinks, well, you could find a job anywhere around the corner. I'm like, you can't even find a job at Home Depot. No
right,
way. It doesn't work because a lot of these places, they'd rather hire young and ones that are not going to leave in 6 months, or corporate offices, they want to hire young, inexperienced, and they don't have to pay.
right.
But a guy of over above 50 years old, mind you, I have a master's degree. I still can't get a job, you know. So it's a bitch. And it also, kind of fucked me up, mentally. So I'm kind of like in therapy trying to recover from it. the good thing out of all of this is that I stopped drinking. So I've been sober a year and a half now,
Awesome.
and I've been hitting the gym, like start bodybuilding and trying to get fit and trying to keep up with these 20-year-olds because ain't no way. I mean, I'm not gonna lose a job because I'm unable to lift a case or my even my band gear, things like that. My side jobs are pretty much, I'm a professional roadie. I get paid to go watch a band, deliver equipment, and sit there side of stage and do all that shit. So it's cool. It keeps me in the music industry. I get to talk to people backstage and meet, musicians and things like that. Um, but it sucks because it's not a paycheck. It's just a one-off job, and I'm always waiting for the next call. And
Right.
then once the season's done, the season's over, winter comes, man, I'm like struggling. My wife's just freaking out. It's like yeah, it's a burden, you know.
Yeah, I
So
bet.
again, that's where like the whole once again, the nightmare thing, where songs I think are gonna head in that direction. It's kind of more like, we we've already had our screams and yells and, hands in the air kind of thing, and now it's more like my back, my bruises, my joints.
I would disagree a little bit there. I think it's kind of a bit mad. Like, like if you know, that I find myself very angry, like, especially with the country is being run. And I think it's time to have a little revolution. But, um,
I'll let
yeah,
him take over. In the-
we'll put you in a wheelbarrow.
yes, yeah. So yeah, that's where we're heading. Again, our purpose is, try to get gigs, and I would love to get on a label or some kind of organization that could help us get into like bigger shows, festivals, things like that. There's always festivals. I see them online, East Coast, West Coast fests and shit like that, Rebellion Fest or whatever. And it's like, how come and people are just like, how come you're not on that? And I'm like, I don't know who to contact. I don't know how to get a hold of these people. Uh, yeah, point me the way and I'll do it, but it's not something that you know, I'm more concerned about paying, next week's, rent than go and try to find a gig that maybe we might make $50, things like
Yeah.
that.
That's the drawback. Even getting on, I'm sure, until you've established the, I don't know what to call it. Like you've been around, and so you're a headlining type band. I'm sure at most of those festivals, I haven't put any together, but those guys top billed are probably the ones getting enough. Everybody else, it's like, all right,
Right.
here's your opportunity to play with these guys that are going to bring in people, sell your merch, and maybe here's a little bit of money for some travel expenses, some gas or
Sure.
whatever.
Right.
And so that's probably a drawback if you don't have that freedom to thrive from the bottom, for a little bit. It's probably really
Right.
difficult.
Yeah.
well, it's also a matter of getting your name out there as well and keeping it fresh in the minds of others. Um,
Right.
you know, bands can be forgotten very quickly, but there was no way to back or anything like that. It's,
Right.
you have, you're only as good as your current thing, you know. Um, so, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if there was a way to keep that going.
Right.
All we can do is what we do. We play kids when we can, wherever we can.
Right.
Life sometimes gets in the way of it, but we definitely still love getting on stage and playing and having a good time with people and meeting new people and meeting new bands and everything.
Right.
You absolutely, hopefully we can just do more of it. It's just a matter of trying to get the contracts in their head,
Yeah,
Hey,
and we're not afraid to go hit other cities too. I mean, again, we haven't done it a whole lot this year just because we're trying to catch up with Ryan and everything else. But everyone, in the band has, really difficult schedules, and trying to get shows out of town is getting kind of difficult as well. But yeah, that's the whole purpose, is to get out there and play more shows. Hopefully, one day we'll get to your, to Salt Lake, and go hit west. But for now, it's just stick what we can do right here in the Midwest, and then help us, spread the word, the name as well.
Right. And I'm always willing to do that. I think you guys are great. Uh, I feel like I only know what I know, right? I don't know what everybody else
Sure.
knows, in the sense that I started doing the podcast because I like music. And I thought, you know what? I don't understand why more people aren't listening to this style of music, punk, oi, and all these things. There's so few people. There's so few people in my life that relate to this. And so one reason I'm glad I did it is because there's so many other people I get to talk with, like we're doing right now and so forth, that I wouldn't normally do. But for me, even before I was doing the podcast, I come across bands like your band, like, oh, I really like this. This is great. And then, when you talk to you guys, and, you find out that you don't really have the following that I would picture you have, and that it's probably, like you said, you don't know who to contact, because I am the same guy that says the same thing. Last time we talked, and at the beginning of when you were saying that, it's like, yeah, why aren't you guys on those festivals? I
Right.
think you guys are great. Your music's great. It's not like you're a
Thank
brand
you.
new band. You guys are
No,
really
no.
good. And it's not like you put out a really good song and you have more to come, because there's some bands out there that have done that and probably have some success that I'm like, all right, that's fantastic. I'm glad you have that. But then I'm looking at bands that have greater bodies of work over a longer period of time. And I don't know how to crack that equation, I guess, for the better way to word
Yeah.
it, is like, how is this plus this get you to this? Because you already have the this, and we know what the equals is, but
Right.
what's the other thing? What is the other thing supposed to
Yeah.
be?
Yeah. Yeah. That is it. I mean, I could fall to ourselves the fact that we don't have a good connection with the internet per se. Let's just say that. We our social media is not the best. Only because that we're more concerned about doing our jobs and trying to get our lives together than sit in front of a computer for, 8 hours a day and do social media for a band or things like that. Which is funny because I have a marketing degree, but that's, that's a whole different story because, uh, yeah, I mean yeah, I guess you could say that, but still there's more to it. I guess doing things like this, like the podcast, trying to spread words, and hopefully someone out there, hey, I like this band, maybe I'll sign them or help them out, maybe get us a show out there wherever,
Right.
and
I mean,
hopefully
another thing is just, trying to go to shows and meet new bands and everything. And these ones that we're not playing, it's we try to do it as much as
yes,
possible. It's what's hard sometimes, working in actually a job as well, having to keep reach over your head, and it doesn't always work out. So we try to do as much as we can within the scene and everything. We I've met bands going, I was a punk rock bowling 2 years ago, and with this band, Strong Army Abilities, they were phenomenal. They actually came through town, went and saw them and everything, and, just going to hook them up to the place of things they needed it, and, they're phenomenal. They're a great band. Um, but trying to keep in touch with, like, everyone, now you have bands that are they're based out of Virginia and big part of the North kind of thing. How am I going to go play a show with you? When I got to work,
right,
the shift that I
yeah.
can take.
No, yeah, we've toured with bands before. I mean, a long time ago, we were touring with a band from Texas, and um, when it was much easier, 20 years ago, we can get in a van and drive away because prices, it was just easier. Like gas was cheaper, everything was cheaper, and we could just drive to Texas and play with a a band from Austin, Texas, and just go and do like a 4 day tour like that. That was fun. It was easy, but now we just can't do it because it's just so expensive,
Right.
you know. But and people, well, you could fly down there. I'm like, yeah, even plane tickets are just expensive. Just to go, for a weekend, is it even worth spending $600 round trip ticket to go play a $50 show?
Right.
So it sucks. But I don't know. I have a feeling that there's other ways, and I guess it's just we haven't been able to tap that market, you know, those markets, anyways. Um,
Where
so
I'd like to see happen to us in the with this new writing phase is that uh, putting out a more online presence so that it gets out there to everyone, and by doing like videos and whatnot and some of the songs as well. Um, I I see that becoming the biggest trend right now as far as like all the business. We don't necessarily do that. We're not the most photogenic. It's pretty definitely. It's like still in the place. You can't from this place. Um, so I mean, it's but I think that's how you get a lot of exposure. And it's going to be something that we're going to have to start doing.
right. And the other thing about it too, about the social media for me, at least me personally, because um, as soon as you know what's his name got in it, it you know just every social media got so fucking political, and it was really hard just to say, hey man, we're gonna play a gig here, without someone sprouting some shit around, and it's just like, you know what, I'm gonna avoid this for a little while. I'm gonna stay away from social media. I'm gonna get myself cleared up before I get back into it. And the more, the further we go on, I feel as though the more social media is gonna probably help us out more. It would be nice if there was a way, someone out there, the ability to write coding to bring back MySpace the way it was back in the day,
Right.
the way it should have been, you know, more support for the arts and culture than anything else. And I think that's what I think that's what bands are missing right there, is that MySpace connection kind of thing.
MySpace is great when you utilize that.
Yeah,
It was, you want to talk about like, marketing. I, in fact, my first stint in the band and everything, on off days of either working or playing, I was online promoting, and you go on somebody's page, you add all their friends, and then you add all their friends, and vice versa, and it was we built up a lot, and it was like, it was reflecting on our tours. We would roll into was it like a Tulsa, Oklahoma on a Monday night, and all of a sudden we played this place called the Red Eye, and it's packed,
yeah,
and they had
yeah,
all come to see us, and it was like, wow, this actually worked. And
right.
then everyone started going about their Facebook, and um,
And it just disappeared.
it's not as easy. It's not as easy for a band to promote, shows and everything. Now, I we have our presence at small, albeit small, um, any platform except for like Twitter and whatever some basic on it. But we have a TikTok, we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook. Now we have to promote on all three of them. About any events you have or anything coming up,
Right,
and you know, be available for anyone that contacts you on those.
right.
It's a lot of work. It's and
Yeah.
you're trying to make ends meet in your job as well too. So um, I guess what we're saying is we could use a manager. So if you're interested, um,
I was going to ask you the same thing.
I wish I was better at it myself. I have the double edged sword with social media. Like, I recognize you have to, probably people that are our age you got to be on Facebook because more people probably in those age categories on Facebook. Overall, Instagram probably has the largest presence. You got to be there. Younger age, Instagram maybe a little bit, but definitely TikTok, which I don't even have a TikTok thing yet. I'm thinking, all right, now that I'm doing the video stuff, maybe I got to do one of them too, just because more people are there. And I'm not looking to just connect with the two of you. I'm looking to connect to anybody that's interested in this, right? And just as you were pointing out with the once again, everybody that's young now is going to be relating to those songs. Those songs will be 20 years old for them at that point, but they're going to relate to that song. And just like you said, we've already done those songs where we were mad, we were angry, we were raising our hands and all that. Yeah, when we're younger, we were into those things. You know, I was just talking to other people recently about songs they wrote, and they're in their upper 30s, 40s now. And it's like, you know, I'm thinking, you know, Mark is a good example from Booze and Glory. I was telling you I did that. Songs that he wrote back in his 20s, he's like, I was talking about smashing people in the face and fighting and all this stuff. And I'm 40, mid 40s now, and I've got a 3-year-old daughter. I don't want to get on stage and sing about that. He's like, I think he said, I'm 3 years sober now. I don't really want to get on stage and just sing about getting drunk and fighting because that's not what I'm doing anymore. You know, I've kind of grown out of that stage. And so, yeah, you want to have those things that are relatable, I guess, those topics. And maybe earlier discography can be that. But what some of those people fail to realize, and maybe we as individuals, I mean, it's probably different for different people, but when we were that age, we probably weren't thinking about these things that are now relatable to us, these things that we want to hear because they are relatable to now. That's probably what's more relevant now, as opposed to some of them other things. You're like, I've kind of grown out of those things now.
Right.
I think, I think we've all matured as adults, you know, and our writing is starting to reflect that. I think, I said earlier, as far as politics go, I'm angry. I think there's a time to fight. I think that he would be reflected in songs there. And I was feeling 100% by what we put out. Do I think we should write another song like this on Porcelain and about, you know, getting drunk and throwing up and passing on the floor? You have one. Let's play it live, though, because it's a popular song. But you know, I don't think it necessarily needs to be Porcelain Part 2.
No.
You know, there's more topics that we would rather think about.
Yeah. Trying to find new subject matter that kind of can relate to all is kind of tough.
Right. Well, it's nice when
Yeah.
people are into and relating to your song when it's new. But like I said, there's people that are going to really relate to a lot of those songs. They just don't know it yet. They're going to hear it and feel like, well, that's not where I'm at in my life. But little do they know that's where they're heading.
It's on its way.
Right.
Yeah, I was writing a song called Flip of a Coin, which is basically exactly what we're talking about. It's like when the moment that you start realizing that you can't do these things anymore and life has changed and all of a sudden it just slaps you in the face, and it's kind of like a flip of a coin where everything is, you just can't go and party anymore, get drunk and get into fights, and or like we said, death in the family kind of changes the perspective in life, how everything just your focus in life, how it's not the same anymore. And so that's what
Right.
Flip of a Coin is going to be about. It's still in the writing process. It'll come out, but I don't know in what kind of format. I still haven't gotten it yet, a good feeling for it.
Well, there might be
So, I mean,
experiences.
Yeah.
the way to word off like the material though is when somebody usually brings something to the table, and then it changes 20 times from them. You know, so
Right.
that's where we're at on a lot of these songs. Nightmare was actually a code song between Tony and Hoser. Tony had written the original idea of it and had some music to it at the time, and Hoser kind of took that and just went with what he had written, and then came out and presented the other version of it. And we did a little fine tuning and tweaking here and there after that. And now what you see is what you get. You've probably heard the original song of it. It's
Yeah, completely different.
so,
Yeah, it was just basically a scratch track that Tony wrote like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, I love it. I like some of the lyrics that he had, um, but just it didn't fit. It just didn't fit what we're going for. And then all of a sudden, I just started goofing off with some guitar work, and then I'm like, I got it, and it just fell into it. And I like it when when bits and pieces of lyrics and a guitar chord start falling into each other, like they all flow and everything goes together, and then I'll keep playing with it. I'll sleep on it for a couple weeks, and all of a sudden I'll come back to it, and it's like, oh, what if I did this, or what if I add this little changeover or something like that, and then eventually it becomes a new thing, and then the last part is to bring it to the band, because then once it comes with the band, whether you like it or not, it's going to change.
yeah.
It becomes a new thing.
So once again, it's become once again and then again and again and again.
Yeah. Yes. I've rewritten the lyrics. I've rewritten the choruses. There's certain songs that just we play them and we've played them live, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to catch. I can see it in people's eyes, and it's like, no, let's go back and redo it again. It's our song. It's not like it's written in stone or anything. So I'll go back and then I'll start rewriting the lyrics, or coming out with a new harmony of a chorus or something like that makes it more pop, catchy, more gets your attention. Because my whole entire goal is that every time you go to a bar, and obviously you go to a bar, you see a show, you'll see a band playing the corner of the bar you've never heard of before, you don't know who they are, and next thing you know, something they say or they're playing, something they're doing catches your attention. I'm like, whoa, who's this band? Where are they from?
Right.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to write. That kind of music that just like, wait, who's that? I like that, And then as we go, you probably capture more attention that way. So yeah, that's definitely the once again and again and again version. God knows 10.3.9.
It's like 3 years straight. He's sending out a new song. Like, hey, here's a new version of it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but again, we're in that practice writing mode right now. I mean, we'll have shows here and there, but it's just more like we already have a set list for those shows. Other times, hey, okay, let's redo this part. No, let's do that again. So definitely, it's a writing process. It just keeps going.
Well, part of your writing process, then, how often or how many times do you like to perform a song? Then, for example, once again, or any track for that matter. So you get it to, all right, it's a song. How many times do you prefer to play it before it's like, all right, I think we're comfortable. Let's record it now.
I throughout history, it's always been a minimum of 6 months of playing the damn song.
Okay.
To where you get so annoyed of it, where it's like, are we good with it? Okay, yeah, let's do that. And then once you record it, it's like, ah, oh, damn, here we go. I wish I could have done something better. Oh, I think we should have done something better. There's no true answer, but usually around 6 months. It's like 6 to 9 months. It's like, okay, it's ready to record. But yeah, no.
I think with any song, though, you're probably like, if you guys go back to the very first songs, and I'm sure there's songs that you guys are like, yeah, we're going to include those, whether it's because the guys that go see you all the time are like, we want to hear that song or those songs. But
yes.
From when you first wrote them and first recorded them to maybe now how you play them, and and it's probably even more true as bands swap out band members, because the guy that swaps for the last guy probably hears it different, or even if he hears it the same, he's going to play it different. And so when it comes down to it, you're probably playing songs different regardless after a while, and you're
Yes.
not going to go re-record. You're not going to be like, all right, guys, we're playing that song so completely different than we did. Let's go re-record that one,
Yes.
and we'll throw it on the new
Yes.
EP or something, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Porcelain, which is the Alcoholic State Mind. I wrote that song in 1997, and it's gone through three or four different recording mixes. I, I I don't even have the original recordings anymore because it's gone through so many versions of that. So yes,
But it's
yes,
still catchy too.
yes. It's still catchy, yes, but it's just
And
yeah,
it's fun to
changes.
play live. It still brings a, certain energy into the show, and they really do play it.
Right,
And we don't always necessarily play it every show. It depends on who the crowd is and what, the vibe is. Um, so, we try to adjust our set list to who are the bands that we were playing with and what kind of a show.
right.
Um, so, you know, um, locally, you're probably going to hear a lot more new material than you would say if you were going somewhere else.
Right.
We would stick with what's on our album because
Yeah,
that's really valuable and you can take this from or listen to them on streaming services and everything. Um, versus trying out new material in front of a crowd that's never seen you before. Um, it's
right.
kind of
They,
unfair for the crowd.
there's one of the things that I like about writing music is I'm trying to do different styles of influences. Um, and I know might have mentioned this before that like I I'll listen to a Motorhead record and I'll get influence like with Motorhead styling, the way they do their songs. But then I'll listen to a hardcore band and then I'll try to do something more hardcore, faster with like chugging and things like that. Um, so I'd like, one of these days I'll try to do like a Cox bar, slow tempo, like rhythmic type of thing. Unfortunately, our drummer's a metal drummer and he gets he I don't want to say he gets bored of our music, but there are times when he's gotten to a point where he almost falls asleep while we're rehearsing because
Well,
he thinks
maybe
it's
it's
not challenging enough. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make it so that every song is different and not sound like we're playing the same song over and over. It's a challenge, for us right
I
now.
feel like I feel like you write and like everyone writes just how they're feeling at the time, you know? You don't necessarily stick to one genre. You're not, we have songs that are like, very hardcore vibe. We have songs that are more of a, rock and roll vibe even. Um, and we kind of go along with just however the feeling of that we're trying to convey brings. Um, that's, I really just dub us into Ori punk thing or whatever. And we kind of hop all over the place. It's going things where I think about it.
Yeah. So that's where we're at, trying to figure that, you know, where the next thing is going to be.
That's fair. With Nightmare, is it out? I know you sent it to me, and at the time that you first sent it to me, it wasn't out and available. Is it out and available? If not, when or
There,
what's your
there,
plan with it?
there is a compilation that's a record label out of Lincoln, Nebraska had put out. Um, and I forgot what
No post, no post,
No Coast
no post.
something.
I think
Yeah, they
yeah,
wanted a record that or a song that wasn't, you know, yeah, whatever. We never put out. And we figured, why not? Let's just try this to see how it works with all of us at a studio and everything else. And then we tried out our friend Dan, who his little studio is downstairs, like 3 floors from our rehearsal room. Our rehearsal room is basically a 4 floor or 3 floor warehouse full of bands. I mean, constantly. but his recording studio is a rehearsal room basically on the first floor. And we went down there just to record that one song, just to try it out to see if we like his recording and everything else. And it came out pretty good, you know.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So the objective was just to try it out, see how it works. In the meantime, keep writing new stuff. And then maybe we'll come out with another single or another album. Preferably if I can do it on vinyl. That'd be awesome.
Right.
Um, but as for putting an official record out, we haven't really sat down to discuss that yet. You know,
You know,
um,
right now
soon.
we're writing about this, and it, you know, we're getting we got about like you said 5 or 6 times, so they're starting to take shape and everything. So then you're gonna play around with those and get things solid, and um, you write some more and everything. So what happens, you know,
Yeah,
and then go from there.
yeah, and it all has to do with funding too. You know, is
Sure.
again trying to have money to record.
Right.
You know, if this becomes a split with another band, you know, who knows? You know, see, listen. See,
Yeah.
right now we're just in writing things in it. So,
Hey, you want to put us on your record label?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys, great music. Have you put any of your other releases out on vinyl? Previous releases?
Only on, well, only We the People.
Right. But just that
I
one.
still have a bunch of copies. That's it.
Okay.
Everything,
well,
everything else digital or CD.
Okay.
well, yeah, the single too that you did with
Yeah.
you know,
So no, I mean it would be awesome if we can do previous songs on a vinyl or something. That would be great.
Right.
Um,
I think
I would
something like
love
that would be
to.
cool.
I
Actually,
would
you
love.
know what? To be honest with you, I think Glory Days, and I might have the vinyl mixes ready to go because those were mixed down. Actually, those were mastered for both digital and vinyl, and I have the files for them.
I
Glory
think we have
Days.
an idea.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, I even have the artwork from the actual vinyl, everything ready to go. So, but we just never had the money to produce it. That's the thing.
Right. And there was a period
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, the last time we did an interview, COVID was ridiculous. I think the prices were probably up
Yes.
significantly. There was less pressing plants working. Shipping was
Yeah.
ridiculous. All of those the costs, the
Yes.
plants were 9 months was like the short time. Some bands were a year and a half plus. All of
Yes.
that added on top of pop music making a resurgence in vinyl, or the interest in vinyl, so pop music coming in, and then all of those record labels actually had all the money to basically skip everybody else that had been doing it, and then
Right.
forcing
Yeah.
everybody else back in line because they have all this extra money to be,
Yeah. Yeah.
so all of that's kind of tempered out. A lot of other availability, a lot of cool pressing plants have popped up since then, making things, I think, a better environment for that now.
Yeah. We have one now here in Chicago. That apparently I thought I just heard them say that they bought more pressing pressers, so they're able to keep at least prices more competitive and time wise as well
Oh,
better.
it's good.
And they're local here too. So that's great about that.
And that's a big
I do have
investment.
another. It is. Oh no, of course, it's not like you're going to lose money. But I do have another band that we just recently recorded, and that's the objective is to uh, get a record for that other band, which should be coming out soon.
Oh, when you say
I'll
other
let you
band,
know.
okay. Is that something
I'm
that
in
you're
another band.
participating in? Okay, there you go. There's my question.
Yes.
You're in another band, so you have something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that
Yeah. I'll send you some info on that too.
perfect? We'll leave it there then. What I was going to say is
Yeah.
ended up building this secondary garage that the banner's covering here, but as a
Mm.
studio, recording studio, so I could record music. But before I was doing that, I was weighing my options. Like, This was like 3 years ago. Around that time that we had talked last, I was looking into it, and I thought, maybe I should get into pressing records and stuff. And I actually looked at, some good equipment. The company was in Germany. I could buy the equipment. I'd buy enough that one person could man 2 stations. So as you're operating, you could be like full involvement, right? Like as much as one person can handle. And to get all the equipment,
Sure.
have it shipped here, installed, get the training and all that, it was going to be, I want to say $350,000. And I was like, oh, it might be cheaper if
Wow.
I just turn this into a recording studio. And so that's why I didn't get into the record pressing business.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a big investment for people to be able to
It is.
do that. I don't know what equipment they use. I didn't really look too much more into like, there's different cuts, like a lathe cut as opposed to your traditional
Yes.
presses. And even on top of that, I talked to Mike Longshot of Longshot Music. He's like, yeah, once you do the thing, you get your pressing equipment, you still got to have the plates. So, and you're not manufacturing your own plates. You're going to, when the band sends you
Yes.
the music, you got to get the plates manufactured, and then they're going to store
Yes.
for X number of time. And so then you're going to need to be able to store the plates for represses.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and once I heard all that, I thought, I don't think I've got, well, for sure the money up
Yeah.
front, but how am I going to figure out how to
But the
make this
storage.
happen? I don't think
Right.
I can do it. So for
Right.
anybody that
Right.
does,
Right.
great for them. And the more that do it, I mean, support the ones, help keep them going, because they're definitely doing a
Yes.
service to kind of help drive down costs, make it more available for other people.
Yes, indeed. And definitely. Yeah.
Well,
So,
since you guys have some tracks, you might get around to recording them. I think it's really good to consider in the meantime, especially since it's not even represses at this point. It's like, hey, for the first time on vinyl, you have some options. I think looking at some of that social media, as you were pointing out, is a good way to go. I love music videos, but I think even I like to go support all the music videos, but I think with the attention span that people get because they're viewing a lot of those on social media, you're better off figuring out 10 to 20-second clips and creating a bunch of those, as opposed to, hey, let's take our track and then invest the time and the money. Because the bands that I think, part of that secret sauce that we were talking about, some bands
mhm.
are the bands that have that graphic artist in the band, right? So they drop a bunch of different visually cool things and have a bunch of cool merch, right? Because they don't have to go
Right.
find the graphic artist to do that, or they've got the video guy in the group and he can edit the videos and shoot the videos and do all of these things, and so you can create a lot of content that way. Or you got the person that
Mhm.
has the know-how with the social media, and the list goes on and on. The guy that has the recording studio, so we can record all our own
Sure.
music all the time, and it saves those costs and it helps. So when you don't have those, you gotta have to pick and choose. When, as you guys pointed out, if you don't have that ability to be like, all right, guys, we're hitting the road, it's like, all right, based on everybody's work schedules for the next 6 months, the next year, let's pick how we can make the most impact, and we'll figure out what that is, whether it's 3 weekenders
Yes.
a year or whatever it is. We'll, one show a month locally, whatever that is. You kind of have to be that picky, choosy. How are we going to make the most impact based on what we
Yeah,
have available to
exactly.
us?
Right. Exactly.
And so I
Yeah.
think that's the secret
As-
sauce, but it's different for everybody. It's going to be different for different
Yeah,
bands.
no, definitely it is. As for graphic arts and video, I can do most of it. I don't have video cameras. I have Adobe and I'm very familiar with all that stuff, but everything else is like still out of my reach, you know. I have one GoPro and that's it. I need more than one. So, Fabian, on the other hand, he can do stuff, but he hasn't been really
Got a
reliable.
lot on his plate. He's got a lot on his plate. I mean, the guy's
Yeah,
in 9 bands.
he's in 9 bands, so he has a lot to deal with,
Right.
So it's hard, it's hard for him to do that. But yeah, we are capable. It's just, like you said, how do we maximize everything so that we can
Right.
do much better job at it?
Right.
Yeah.
Hit people up that really like the band and say, hey, you know what? We're doing this show. Any chance you can record 1 or 2 full tracks for us just during the live show.
Right.
You don't have to spend the whole time
Sure.
videoing or, expand your network in the sense that you just figure out who's in your network. You have a lot of people that like your
Yeah.
music and like you guys. Now it's like, hey, friends of band, anybody have a camera that we can just set up while we play? Because recording a whole show is a whole bunch of footage, right? That's something that you're lacking is
Right.
the footage, but you have the ability to therefore maybe work with the
Yes.
footage once you
Yes.
can acquire it.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
it.
Our last show that we played for my 50th birthday, you have a lot of footage actually from that I would love to take and see one of the songs and just mix it all up. And
Yeah.
it was, it was a phenomenal time. The footage is really good. Again, it's probably that person that can actually sit there and cut and slice and make all the audio sync and everything. And I don't know that talent.
Right?
I don't know. Right.
I don't either. I'm the guy that has a bunch of stuff. I just don't have, and a bunch of interests. I just don't have the time and sometimes the focus to get right into the one thing and become the expert at it. I'll start getting good enough that I can do a
Sure.
thing. Won't be the best
Yes.
at that thing, but then it's like, what about this other thing that I want to do now? I've got all these ideas. I've got some movies I'm going to film. I've got music video
Right.
ideas. I've got all sorts of other things, and I can kind of get the concept going on some of these things. But then by the time, because it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of equipment. Sometimes it takes a lot of people.
Yes.
And just as, your small example here in the sense that you have 4 guys trying to coordinate playing some shows and recording some music and maybe band practices. Now, if you want to get into expand your project and just for you guys as an example, like, hey, let's record a music video. Well, it's probably not just the 4 of you coordinating. It's all right. Who can we get to record? Maybe we need to bounce some ideas off people. Maybe you want more than just the 4 of you in it. And so now you're relying on coordinating with other people to make this
Yes.
project happen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's bad enough trying to herd a bunch of cats to do a band picture.
right. And then on top of that, right, you want to expand and do some other stuff. I think content's cool, like the live stuff. Like I see some bands that just popped up and blew up. It's because they have really exciting live shows, right? And the reason I knew they had exciting live shows because it was 2 years before I saw the band because they just didn't come here. And so by the time I actually saw them, it'd been about 2 years, but they show their live shows, right? There's plenty of video and it's not, here's just 5 minutes streaming. It's maybe clipped together and it just looked really exciting. It's like, wow, I can't wait to see that band. They're a new band. They only have like 3 songs out. And then, that 3 songs quickly went into, they must have recording studios and stuff because it was just like blowing up, like 2-track single here and like vinyl for this and vinyl for that. And they just had so many different vinyls off so many different releases. And it was just crazy. But you want to see them because on top of liking the music, the show looked interesting and something that you wanted to be at. And so if you're able to get those things, but again, they must have who knows how many people coordinated to do all these things. It's hard for 4 or 5 dudes in a band to do everything. There's only so much you can do. The behind the scenes when you're not actively doing things, I'll divvy up, you do your part, and so forth. But there's certain things, especially while the band's doing something, you need these other people supporting you, and it's hard to coordinate and build that up.
Yes, it is.
Again, are you interested in the manager job?
Yeah, right. I'm really lucky that I do have time to do certain things like this and to kind of try things out and figure things out because just as you pointed out, it's tough to do life and then try to invest a lot of time into these other things that you want to be a part of your life, but it's not family. It's not all the other things that are coming about. That the hurdles again, just like in the song. See that song? I haven't heard it yet, and I can't wait because it's that relatable thing that I want to spend that 3 to 4 minutes. That probably a typical squared off song, 3 to 4 minutes long, right? And
yes.
I want to hear it because I want to relate to it because it is that thing that no matter who we are, it just keeps coming up. No matter what your interests are going to be, something's coming up, and all right, now I got to put this on the back burner. Now I got to put this thing on the
Yes.
back burner. And sometimes by the time you get back to it, it's like, God, I've kind of thought about these other things. Do I want to change that thing? Do I want to modify what I was doing there? And it's hard
Right.
to get back
Well,
into them.
don't don't forget to add a little tad of depression too, because mental health, it just
Absolutely.
really drags you down too. You know,
Absolutely. That's just
it
another one of
sucks.
those things. The
Yes,
not
exactly.
tangible thing. I mean, not the other things are tangible, but somebody passes away. That's a thing. That's like an actual roadblock. You have to kind
Right.
of deal with that thing. And then the secondary thing, depression, can come in after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So
And
yes,
it's like a
get your
roadblock.
help.
It's a mental block, roadblock, right?
Yes, it is. I've been on recovery mode for now. Like I think the first step for me was to stop drinking. And then ever since then it's been taking me a year and a half to get back to get to, like to write,
Right.
just to even get back into writing. It took a long time. So, yes, it's a roadblock and it takes a while for it to recover from it. Yes, really.
But putting
So,
in the
yes, get
time,
your help.
putting in something. I mean, it's going to be different for different people. Therapy, whatever. I'm not here to prescribe. It's different for different people. But to
Right.
get past those roadblocks, I'm a firm believer. I've heard within the last few years, like artists, people that are creating things, are people that are kind of accepting that ability, whatever you believe, the universe, let that flow through you. Some people believe you're a conduit. You're not really even the creator. You're just kind of opening your mind for these ideas to
Right.
flow through you. And whether you believe that or whatever, maybe you are just that creative of a person. Either which way you go, that roadblock is kind of it's blocking you from either letting that energy flow through you. It's blocking you from allowing your brain to go to wherever it goes, to be that creative person, to come up
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
ideas, to even have the desire to do it. Because I think a big part of those things is, God, it seems like such a chore. It seems like such, even the things I do, which I think are creating by seeing other people's creations, right? The podcast,
Sure.
the video,
Yes.
those kind of things. I'm
Hmm.
not originally doing a thing, but I'm kind of seeing something else and putting something together. And you have to have that. All right, it's time to sit down and do it. Even though you think it might be a chore, but so many times when I get in the groove, I just start going and going, but it's getting
Yeah.
that over that
Yeah.
hurdle of sitting there and making yourself do the thing. And then once you do it, then you realize, oh, geez, God, look at all this stuff that I did because I actually kind of forced myself into doing it. Even though, I don't
Right.
want to make it sound negative, like you had to force yourself, but sometimes the feeling is that, whether it's depression,
Yes.
it's other things going on. And so your brain's thinking about those other things, like, shit, I got this other shit I got to do. And so you're thinking about that and not really into your task either.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's yeah. And that's it right there in that what is going on with this band. And I think once again is probably the epitome of what we're going through right now, all of us in the
Right.
band anyways.
And just outside observer, you got a guy who's in 9 bands. So when the band's not really that active, it's like, all right, I'm going to focus on my other 8 bands until we do the thing. And then you got somebody who's kind of dealing with your life circumstances and maybe not really feeling it. So you're not really pushing it. And then you got Ryan, who maybe the work schedule, it's like, all right, well, it didn't really line up for me when it was available for you guys. And so, all right, we'll get together. And, it's a myriad of things. When you all come back together, it'll all work out and you create, you
Hmm.
do your thing. But when a few different things from a few different directions are kind of really pulling everybody apart, then there's not that gel pulling you back together at that moment either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Well,
That's where
uh,
we're at.
do you guys have any shows coming up? Any intent on shows? I probably asked you these questions. Funny enough, I asked you this question and I'm going to go on a tangent real quick because, different interviews, different people, different memorable things. One memorable thing from the last interview, you talked about the guys in your band and how you had that expectation when you guys play live. guys got to know how to play your instruments. You need to be engaged with the audience. I remember distinctly still, I can picture your face while you're saying it. And that the guys can't stare down at their hands while they're playing, right? You need to be really.
Ryan knows exactly. Ryan knows exactly what I'm talking about. See, it is.
I've heard this lecture before.
I've had this lecture for 20 years, so he knows exactly what this is about. Yes.
Yes.
We're all never like there's three of us in the front are not ones that stay still. We're not trees with guitars.
Right.
We're basically trying to avoid each other, running into each other on stage usually. For a bunch of old guys, we still move around and everything. It's just we've gotten to the point where we're kind of like we can predict where somebody's going to be usually. Tony and I still button into each other every once in a while.
Yes, we do bump into each other. Yes.
Yeah. But,
our set list is still traditional back-to-back songs, no stopping, no nothing. I hate that. I hate the fact when bands just stop playing and next thing you know the artist is like, well, okay. And 20 minutes later they play their next song. It's like, no, we keep going. Next song, let's go. Keep going. Nonstop. I like bands that just keep it going because it's like, like everyone has short attention spans. So why do that? And to me, it seems like you're not ready. You're not professional enough to get ready to get up there on stage and just rock out and keep going. I mean, what's the point of stopping and then sitting there and describing about your next song or, trying to out-talk the audience or something like that? It's just less talk, more rock. Let's go.
I think you guys play a style of music that incites movement, right? That they came up with a style of music, shoegaze, which you guys aren't into, where there's less movement and those guys stare down at their shoes, right? Because it's just that style of music. That's not your style. So yes, moving, I totally get it. I'm pro what you said. Goes back a lot of years. I heard Marky Ramone say the same thing about the Ramones. Like he was pretty critical of people that are constantly stopping, getting a drink, stopping every 3 songs and talking. That wasn't the Ramone style. The Ramone style is we get in and we play it's song, 2 minutes, because that was the Ramones. But they were, track after track after track. And I think depending on, where you're at on a lineup too, you want to make the most impact. And so you want to make the most of whatever your allotted time slot is too. And I will say on the flip side of that coin, you will have hardcore bands. And I noticed this, that the mosh pit, slam pit, the circle pit, depending on where you're at, I suppose, those can only last for so long. So I will say that those certain styles of bands probably are good to take a break every couple songs, just because you're used to seeing everybody moving and fist flying and whatever, and the audience just doesn't have the endurance to keep up with you to do that back to back track. So unless you have some tracks that either slow down the tempo, you probably need to take a break every now and again because the audience needs to take a break.
We do.
Usually 4 songs, quick hydrate, back into 4 songs, another quick hydrate, another 4 songs.
Right. And you guys are active, so you probably need the break.
Right. I mean, 12 songs is enough, I think, for a band. I mean, if you play more than 45 minutes, you're out doing it. That's it. You're wearing out the audience. And not only that, but you're also pissing off the other bands because they're like, my set's going to get cut off or something like that. Right. Especially if you're like one of 7 other bands playing in 5 hours kind of thing. That's not going to happen.
Right. And I'm pro that I'm older. I will be the first to admit this. Going out to a show on Tuesday night and the headliner is supposed to be going on at 11 and I want to see him because they came from England or who knows where, but they're not coming to Salt Lake often, but I came to see him. But again, they're going on at 11 and I don't even have to be up that early if I don't want to be, even though I still choose to be. But if they go on and like midnight hits, now I'm starting to not like the band at this point. I'm like, I came to see you, but I think I'm gonna leave. You know, it's midnight.
Right.
I'm tired.
Yeah. Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
starting the. I'm pro no encore movement. I started this a few years ago. I'm tired of the play part of your set and you're saving a couple of those tracks that everybody wants to hear, but you're just going to
Right.
walk off stage so everybody says one more song or chant your name or whatever your cheer
No.
is, and then you come
No.
back on to play those songs that you should have played in your set. That's a no. Like if you're in your hometown and you did like a month-long tour, I get it. If you're doing a farewell and this is our last show ever, yes, I get it. You know, there's some circumstances, but just to be like, we're saving 3 to 5 songs and we're gonna run off stage to then run back on stage. I'm against it. You're wasting my time. Play
Yes.
those songs in the set. Like if you're playing a cover song, then all right, I get it. That was probably an actual encore or some song that you played like 20 years ago and it isn't in your regular set, but you're like, all right, the crowd wants to hear it. Guess what? Let's throw this one together, guys. Everybody know this one? All right, let's do it. That makes
Right.
sense. But
Yeah,
you're right.
it happens all the time. You know, like we'll be playing shows and all of a sudden somebody will yell something out and we start, okay, let's figure out how to throw that in there. Or it's at the end of our set, we've done, we're, you know, thank you, good night, and everything. And all of a sudden, everyone's, you know, one more song, come on, one more song. So you're like, well, now what the fuck?
Yeah.
What have we played? What have we practiced in like the last month or something? That we
Right.
go out of our ass. Because it's always like, how did that one go? You know,
Yeah.
you sit there
Yeah.
and you're like, you know, you
Get
try
up,
to
get
keep it.
out.
You're kind of trying to change the set list constantly, but it's like, you know, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you haven't played that song. It's like, oh shit, how did that go?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We don't have the 20-year-old brain that remember songs that we, from years ago, and someone else is just like in the audience to say, "Yeah, play that song." It's like we haven't played that in years. What? No, sorry.
Yeah, you could try, but it probably wouldn't sound like the same song, right?
No, it's not gonna. No, it never does.
our voices are deepened, maybe. I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
We
know,
got the old man voice.
I, I, I can't bark as loud as I used to. You know,
I
I
don't
take
have that high voice anymore.
that's a lie. Listen to Nightmare.
Barking. That's not singing.
Vocal, no, the backing vocal that I had to do, the
Oh,
wolves in the back and
yeah.
everything. I was,
If you hear somebody squealing in the background, that's Ryan over there.
that's me. That's totally me. It was like, what am I doing here?
Right.
But the guy, you know, producer, he was for it. He was like, I know where you're going with this. And we had the idea of trying to layer that chorus a little bit. Um, and so all of a sudden he's like, all right, get me like, how do we get into this register? And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I could actually do this now. So I now do the high part rise.
It's hard. Yeah. There's at the end of the night, there's some vocals are just gone. I can't hear you.
That's
Yeah,
the hydration break.
yeah. That's why 12 songs. That's it. No more. Because then all of a sudden, the frog comes out.
Right. It's good for
Yeah,
everybody. You know, of course you like the
yeah.
shows, but the shows need to be uh I don't know, leaving the audience for more. You don't want to exhaust everything. You
Yeah.
don't want to exhaust
No, of
anybody
course.
because then when people leave, they're like, oh, I was so tired. They're going to remember I was so tired at the end of the show instead of
Right.
kind of leaving on that high as well.
Yeah,
So
it's a teaser
right,
for the next one.
right.
Right. Definitely.
And
Yeah,
when somebody shouts
I
out
like
that song, say, maybe next time you come to the next show and maybe it's going to be on that
Yes.
next one.
Yes. Yes. I've actually said that too.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah. Yeah, I've said that, and actually we've had to wind up playing that said song, which we did. We did. We've covered it. We did it, but
Good.
I think that was the last time we ever played that song or whatever. I don't remember what song it was, but that's okay. That's
Well,
okay.
until the next time somebody shouts it out, then, and then maybe the show after that.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and it's kind of cool like when we do we do play shows out of town, seeing those faces again, like, oh, I remember seeing you the last time. I'm like, oh, that's great. Cool. You came back. Awesome.
Right?
You know? So hopefully we get to do more of that, at the hopefully next year. We'll see. I'd like to do more out of town stuff. I
I
do
mean,
miss
right
it.
now, what we have on as far as shows go this Thursday, we are playing it in Chicago with
The antagonizers
the President ACL, Tommy, and
and fighting for scraps.
draft. Yeah. Um, so you know, we're doing that one, and then we have another local show that is actually benefiting Huntington VA Hospital on August 9th. It's at the band. I can name a couple off the top of my head. Fire and do it everything. But after that, we are December going to Battle Creek, Michigan to play a punk rock flea market at Kellogg Arena. Kellogg Arena. Um, this guy rents the whole arena, and there's Sundays and everything to it. And at the far end of the arena is a stage, and the band. And the I reached out to him saying, "Hey, I kind of like what this is. How do we clear a request for it?" He's like, "Well, let me check you out." He came back and he was like, "Yeah, I really have to use it on the ground to play." And how do we do it? And he gave us like the details, and yeah, so it's September 28th, 28th or 29th. I got the details. Details again. I think it's a 28th. Um, we're heading up the Battle Creek this week for the day, and it's it's a matinee show, so it's kind of cool. Like independent back at like midnight in Canada. You get out of there kind of somewhat early. So,
That's great. I'm pro bring back the matinee too.
oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's actually a
Definitely.
club in Chicago that has started doing Sunday matinees, Liars Club. They call it church. Um, and I think it's a great idea. I think it's fabulous. Let's do this,
Right?
you know?
Right.
So, I mean, um, Noah from Punk Rock Tacos is another promoter. He does a lot of all ages shows, and it's actually a taco venue. But his shows, like during the weekends, um, in the summer, he has a lot of guys up in the parking lot. He has a stage break and everything there. And they start at like, I think, 2 in the afternoon and they go through the night. Um, which is a long day, especially like when you have like 7, 8, 9 bands on the bill or whatever.
Yeah.
You kind of like, no, I'm always keeping it back,
All that in a
So,
Mexican restaurant.
yeah. I
Well, at
mean,
least you get some lunch too.
yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They have great food there.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
Chicago has still got a pretty decent team. A lot of things are popping up and everything. So you getting it, all ages again. I mean, I remember when I was younger going to Fireside Bowl, and that was the place you went like, in the early 90s and everything. You saw all the punk bands coming through, like No Effect or, and they all like, they're like, I mean, it was a bowling alley. It's other way. And then the bowling, like no one was doing the bowling, so they started having shows there. They were, and we were in this bowling alley, butt cheek, watching, a veil or something. And it's good to see that kind of a team coming back, you know. It's small, but it's getting there. It's coming around. Um, comes on the show and everything. So, no, it's fine. Life up something or something. I wish they were able to do always the shows, but you know, with that whole liquor license job that they had done and everything. But you know, it's cool. I hope to see more of it. You know, you see that down in Stoughton and like neighborhoods and everything like that. You have the backyard outdoor shows and everything still going on that are like pretty underground. Because that's the play, you know, it's kind of sure to kind of getting a little bit more popular again. So there is definitely a role there.
Nice.
All
Yeah.
ages shows, that's where they're at this point. You know, if you're not participating in any all ages shows, you have a hard time probably getting the word spread about your band, right? Because, you know, if I go listen to bands, odds are likely, you know, I guess if it's a new band, if it's that could be different, but a band and maybe even a new band to me. But a lot of people that I'm probably relating to and seeing on a regular basis might already have seen those bands. And what are the odds, you know, amongst who am I going to go tell? Like people I know, but I don't see them as often, as opposed to the younger groups, you know, the all ages groups. They're seeing their peers on a daily basis more than likely, so they're spreading the word regularly, not waiting until they get to work and find the one guy that might be interested in this style of music, or next time you hit up a friend that you go to the shows with, you know, that kind of thing. So
Yes, exactly.
I mean, the thing I like about like the matinee shows is you know it's or like the like processing is you have the crowd that goes to the 21 and over shows in the bars and everything like that, standing and or dancing with the kid that just came from high school that this is his first punk rock show,
right,
and you know they're shitless about what's going on. Really like um, I I saw a lot of that. We played a couple of those last year, and it was cool to see that kind of an interaction amongst the older generation and the younger generation. So I hope to see more of it. It looks good.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. On that kind of playing shows note, I meant to ask, like right when we were getting ready to talk about the shows, where's your guys' home away from home? Obviously, Chicago is where home crowd is, but you know, you guys have been around, you have played shows outside of Chicago. Where's that home away from home where you feel like you know a lot of those faces, as you were talking about? You know, you go play and people recognize you. Well, where's that place, do you think?
Right now,
Mm, huh?
within the last few years, I've been taking to be right now. To, to one that they started out and just you know, put out this into television. Texas is one of those we flew down there, you know, and we played a bunch of times down there, but um I don't even know about that team anymore. It's been so long since we've been there. You know. I'm still friends with a band called Generation Exodus, which we were made up of guys and a band called Brand Leaves and USA Tour just from East Coast to Midwest, and then we went down there and just did around Texas this summer. Um, they're, they're starting to play shows in they go to European tour after too. So they're playing. They always see them playing in this like I guess it's a you know they come to there's a venue. I don't even know what their team looks like anymore. Um, I was ready to go when we rolled into Michigan last time we played up in Grand Rapids or something like that. There were a lot of people that came up to see us and you know and the band and everything that just connects there. Constantly see.
I I think that question is kind of hard because I could say Madison,
Okay.
Wisconsin. I could say Detroit. Sometimes Minneapolis, only because we have really well connections there, and every time we go there, like we play with a promoter or another band that have their fans that know us very well, and we constantly go back to those places. So I guess you could just say the Midwest.
Midwest is a fair answer. Actually.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
we
even like Des Moines, Iowa, we've
yeah,
played at a skate park in the middle of nowhere, and we've been there a handful of times, and we still see those same faces coming just to go
yeah.
check us out, and
And
it's
they
great.
and it's cool because you see them, they know the lyrics to our songs and everything. So it's
It's really cool. Yeah, and having that's the reason why I like playing out of town because I like seeing those faces again, and everybody knows our music, sings along to it. Um, it just seems like lately it's less and less faces because everyone's getting, it's getting harder and harder to go to shows,
Right.
you know. So, yeah, that's it. The Midwest, I guess.
Well, it's not a bad problem to
It's just,
have, to struggle to answer the question for a place. It's more of a general
yeah,
area, so that's really cool to be able to
yeah,
do that.
yeah. For a while it used to be Milwaukee, but lately it's like that place has gotten weird. Like there's been a fight dispute, I guess you could call it, or a little mosh, whatever, between two bars there, and so certain people won't go to one bar or the other, and yeah. But I see people from Milwaukee is like, hey, when you guys coming back up? It's like, let me get back to you. Let me get back to you. First of all, I gotta get some money and get a new car, and we gotta find a band van, something to get us in and out of town. You know,
Right.
but no hurries. We'll get it. We'll get it.
That's another one of those
We'll
things.
get
If
it.
you got a band member that has a van already, you're set. And if you don't, and everybody's got like a small sedan car or something like that, that's really hard to
Yeah,
go touring in, even for weekenders
it
to
is.
put all your
Yes,
equipment in, put some merch in, because
it
obviously
is.
you want to sell a little bit to kind of hopefully
Yeah,
offset some of your costs, maybe make something,
yeah,
hopefully.
yeah. The last official tour, we went on tour with this band called Hex Bombs out of Kalamazoo, and I took my car, which was a Ford Freestyle, and packed four of us in the seats, and then the rest of it was gear. The Freestyle is kind of like a wagon, like a station wagon style.
Okay.
So there was enough room for all of that, but not all gear. We had to bring just drum equipment, a couple cabinets, and then heads, and then everybody's bags. So it was tight. And I put in maybe almost 3 or 4 thousand miles on my car that weekend.
Wow.
It was like, yeah, because traveling between cities. So we did like
Right.
5 days and six, or 5 cities in 6 days or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bet it was a fun time, but yeah, it's a lot of miles to cover.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of mileage. Yeah.
So I hate to be rude here, but I do have to go prepare some stuff here, but I'm gonna have to cut this interview close for me. But it was nice meeting you, Justin, and thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. It's great to meet you, Ryan. I appreciate you being able to join, and I think we'll get wrapping this up right now then. I appreciate it.
All right,
All
I
right.
appreciate it. Thank
Definitely.
you. All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right.
All right, bye.
Huh.
Well, what's left about the band then? What's left to cover until the next time?
Pretty much nothing.
We're kind of holding. At
Uh,
least you guys do have some shows coming
yeah.
up. Oh, I was going to ask a
Yeah.
follow up to what we were just talking about. So obviously, the Midwest, you're used to faces, right? You're seeing a lot of the same faces, a lot of the same people recognizing your music. When was the last time, or where was a city that you got the kind of the exact not really exact opposite, but more of an opposite effect where you showed up, maybe weren't expecting as much recognition, but where people were like, hey, we know your music. I'm glad you're here type thing.
Indianapolis. We just played last December for a Christmas party, birthday party slash thing at the Melody Inn, and it was actually pretty cool seeing faces. Like people coming from other cities, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing here?" It's like, "Oh yeah, we came to see you," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you, awesome." And yeah, that was a surprise. That was good, you know. So yeah, I mean, we do have a following. It's just, you know, like to get more, you know, to get the youth and others that,
Right.
you know, and there are times when we come to certain cities like Indianapolis, of course, where people have like, I've heard about you, I've never seen you, guys, when you coming back, kind of thing. It's like when you want us back,
Right.
you know, kind of things like that. So yeah, it's not like, you know, we're that bad. It's just that we just don't have the good breaks, I guess. I guess that's the thing.
I've noticed that the more I've done this, right? Like back in the mid 2000s, where you start to get exposed more because, you know, stuff was popping up on YouTube. It was a little bit before Spotify, but it was much easier to come across stuff. Maybe MySpace was still kind of, I didn't really use MySpace that much. So I kind of missed out
Sure.
on the accessibility that MySpace gave as far as discovering other bands. But you know, I come across a band, I see they got a video, and you know, I think back to how I grew up. I'm sure how you grew up back in the '80s. Everybody
Yeah.
that's in a band that you've heard of that's on the radio and you know their music,
Yeah.
they're rock stars, you
There.
know, and you get to meet them,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you know, and then anybody whose music, you know, at least 10 or so years ago, in my mind, it's like, oh, there's these awesome people. I come across their music, it's awesome, and then you know, as you really get into doing what I'm doing, and I'm sure people know at this point 90 some odd percent of the music that we're going to be listening to under this genre of punk is just people like everybody else in the sense that they're working and they're trying to meet up with their friends and do something fun
Right.
and do it as much as they possibly can. It's not
Yeah.
living some rock star lifestyle where everybody's got the
No.
breaks coming their direction. They've got the other thing instead, the other type of breaks where this is stopping you and this is stopping you and this is stopping you at that,
Yes.
you know, those
Yeah.
junctures instead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you guys have great music, and it's one of those things when I first discovered your band, and then when we talked, because I probably 2015, 2016 was probably first time I heard your band, and then we talked
Mhm.
4 or 5 years ago, whenever that was, and to hear the stories,
Yes.
kind of what we're talking about now, it's like, oh, what is that thing? Because I don't understand why you guys aren't there. Why? Because I hear music of bands and see some successes of bands, and your music's there. You know what I mean? It's same in my
Yeah.
mind, same level. You're both. You're not creating. You know, I'd use myself as an example. I'm not a musician. That's on top of all those other things I want to learn. I've got a drum set in the recording booth on the other side of me.
Hmm.
You know, I've got a
Hmm.
bunch of guitars. I've got a bass guitar because I intend to learn all of these things. It just when am I
Sure.
putting something to the side to do that, right? So if I go create something, I don't expect people to like it because it's probably not very good. You know, and maybe I'm a higher critic because I know what I like and it sounds better than
Right.
just me picking up some instruments and throwing some stuff together and hopefully sound, you know, saying some stuff that sounds interesting to it. You guys are actually doing a really
Sure.
good job and always have done a really good job of putting some really good sounding music, things I want to hear about, those kind of things together.
Hmm.
So I
Sure.
don't understand why that is, what those breaks are, other than, you know, I guess knowing somebody that threw you on the right show or knowing somebody that
Right.
put you on the right tour so you played with the right band for a certain set of shows so a whole bunch of people came across you, or what that thing is.
Yes. That is exactly what that is. It's trying to find that connection to get those opportunities.
Right.
Um, and once in my eyes, the way I see things when we do play shows, if a show is successful or a show is not successful, is how much of merch you sell at the end of the night. And if you're like around $100 in merch that you sold, it was a successful, even though people weren't singing along or weren't into you or anything. The reason why I think it's still successful is because people actually went out and paid money to buy your merchandise. They probably didn't get your stuff at first, but they went out of their way to get a T-shirt or a CD or something like that, and they're willing to wear that shirt or listen to that CD, and then for the next time we do go back to that venue, they'll be there singing along.
Right.
And that's how that's how I gauge a success in a show. Doesn't matter in town or out of town. I always gauge it in that sense because people, um, when they do like you, they'll come and get something from you, you
Right.
know. And that's great. I enjoy it. I actually kind of like, you know, as soon as I'm done playing, I'm trying to run towards the merch booth as quickly as possible so that, hey, shirt, you know, CD, something like that, you know, I get a lot of people at the end of the night like, I've never heard of you guys. Well, you guys are really great. When you coming back? Things like that. And that's if we could just keep doing it more often, that'd be great. But again, you know, being in a grown up life and we get distractions, we get, you know, that whole thing. And we just can't go back to that venue 6 months later and you know, it sucks because I really want to. It's not like we don't. It's we do. It's just, you know, well, we're gonna have to wait till the next time, you know.
Right.
And you know, and that, as a fan of too, you know, how often do you get to see that band that comes your way? I mean, even in Salt Lake, I know that it's a flyover city. I mean, when that band does show up, and you know, take priority number one, but accidentally, you probably have seen many bands that like, well, we never played here before, but then you're like, yeah, come on back, right?
Right.
You know how it
Absolutely.
is. You go to you go see a band you've never heard of this band. It's like, wow, you guys are really great, man. Where are you from? You know, we're from so and so city. Hey, you should come back. You know, and maybe sometimes they don't come back. You know, I don't know. A lot of times they usually just break up. I mean,
Right.
it's rare. I mean, we're like one of the rares of not all of, I mean, of Chicago, but we're one of the last few bands that are around for over 20 years. I mean, everyone's broken up or they're not they're former bands of other like other members of other bands and they started other things and
Sure.
things like that, but it's like I think squared off like um maybe the Boll Weevils, um when they do play out, Naked Raygun plays out, and now Peg Boy's back in the lineup again. So, you know, from the '90s, it's like we're one of the last few bands that have been around that long. I might be missing out others, you know.
Sure.
Um, don't quote on me in it, but there's probably others, but definitely that I know of right now is we're probably one of the last few Chicago bands that have been around this long. Um, what year is this? 90, 2000, wait, since 96, almost 30 years now
Next
that we've
year,
been
30
playing.
years. Something big
Yeah,
next year
30
then,
years.
right?
We'll see. We'll see.
Hey, it sounds like you got some songs. If you guys can get together, maybe record and throw out
Yeah,
a 30-year EP, or even if you only have a couple
yeah,
songs, do a split with somebody that you're going to go do a weekender with, or, you know, to celebrate
yeah,
your 30 years. Maybe somebody regionally is also celebrating 30 years and you can both do 3 tracks on each side of a 6 inch and do a 30 year
yeah.
to celebrate 30 for both. I don't know.
Good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, kind of like 30 years of out of tune, out of touch record, right? Here you
Right?
go.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah,
I appreciate you taking all the time you did. I'm definitely looking forward to more and obviously catching up no matter what, just because it's fun
definitely.
conversation. I
Yeah,
think I love to hear these type of conversations, so I'm glad that I get to participate in them for one.
beautiful.
But
Definitely.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that you had the time. I'm glad that you sent the new track over as well.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Definitely. I will send you more info and I'll send you some more stuff from my other band as well.
Absolutely, I look
I'll send
forward to
you a
that.
track of that. It's raunchier, it's dirtier, it's you'll hear it. It'd be like, "What?" I don't sing in it this time. It's I have a singer. I play guitar. That's all I do,
Hey, there's
you know.
different styles for different moods, not even just different people.
Yeah.
Like different moods, you're in the mood for something else, you know?
Yes, yes.
You know,
And definitely,
I
definitely. Yeah.
good example just came recently at Punk Rock Bowling. Power Trip was on the
Yeah.
same day that uh, Coxbar was on, right? And so pretty much all the
Hmm.
bands kind of were in line with Coxbar, but Power Trip came on. I like Power Trip, they're all right. But I was not in the
Hmm.
mood for Power Trip that day. Every band leading up to them and the band I was looking forward to after them, because it's probably the last time they're going, it's for sure the last time they're playing in Las Vegas, and they're probably going to do one
Yeah.
offs once in a while here in the States. So if I ain't traveling to England,
Yeah.
I'm not going to see Cox
Yeah.
Bar again, most likely. So I was really in the mood
Yeah.
for them, but I was not in the mood for Power Trip that day. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But if Punk Rock Bowling would have put some hardcore, some metalcore, some stuff like Power Trip on that day, it would have been, in succession, all in the mood. My mind would have been right for it. Instead, Power Trip's almost the
sure.
speed bump of my day because of the way they arranged it, And so, like I say,
Sure.
different
Interesting.
moods, different styles.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah, it was weird, but whatever. I like mixed bills, but it wasn't that mixed, in my opinion, that day.
Nah, interesting.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to checking out your new stuff. And if anything changes,
Yes.
or maybe next year for 30, especially if you guys have anything that you want to talk about and get out there, we definitely should do this again because it's a lot of fun.
Sure. Definitely. Will do. Definitely. Thank you very much, man.
Absolutely.
Voice of fear, voice of